once I'm done with my mic, you get it. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're good. It is straight up 6 o'clock according to my watch. We're going to go ahead and get started. So good evening and welcome to Academy District 20 School Board Election Candidate Forum, where along with our co-sponsors, we have gathered candidates for District 20 School Board to answer your questions, the voters. My name is Shelley Roars. I am the spokesperson of the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region and your host this evening. So let's get to it. So we're going to, you have two student moderators this evening, so I'm going to introduce them first, right? So thank you for that. Mandy Walsman, a senior at Rampart High School, is your first moderator, and Haley Zigner, also a senior from Rampart High School. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here. Your candidates running for Academy District 20 School Board. Again, there's our focus this evening. Heather Cloninger and Will Temby are with us this evening. Not with us this evening are Amy Shandy and Derek Wilburn, also running. In this district, you are voting for two candidates with 4 running. This evening, candidates and moderators, your timekeeper in front of you is Liz Farley, a league member. Thank you, Liz. Question takers, I've got, if I missed anybody, I apologize. It looks like we have Joan Hofer, Terry Weber. Raise your hands, ladies, so everybody knows you. If you have questions, this is who you're giving them to. Sandra Collins, who else I got? Ms. Tate, I think so. Either way, you have league members to take these cards that you're going to put your questions on and give them to them, and then these moderators are going to ask the candidates the questions. That's how this works. Also, if you are online joining us, if you wouldn't mind sending in the comments your questions as well, we hope to get those asked. A shout out to our voter service team. This is one of those things that the league does to educate voters. So this is a voter service team event. So thank you to those. We've got 2 more left for the season. So we see the light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you for those, the team, for organizing everything. Monitoring our YouTube and handling our audio video needs is Dave Gardner at Studio 809 Podcast, also one of our sponsors. So thank you to that. Our co-sponsors, we could not do this without. We all believe in educating voters and getting you out to vote. So that is the Black and Latino Leadership Coalition, Citizens Project, Colorado Latinos Vote, KRCC, Colorado Springs NAACP, Studio 809 Podcasts, and Together Colorado Faith Table. So thank you to our co-sponsors. Are any of you here tonight would like to give you a shout out? No? All right, I know a few of them have been with us. And also different for tonight, we have a couple of interpreters. Joining us is Miss Melanie Brewer and Jane Zimmett. I hope I pronounced those right. So thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. We didn't have any elected officials this evening besides the candidates running, so I asked that question. Are there any other candidates, anybody in the room running for office that is not up here in front of us? Joining us tonight, Dave Gardner running for president over here at Studio 809 Podcasts. So what is the league? So we asked that question before we talk about a couple things. The league is number one, nonpartisan. We do not support or endorse candidates. It's very important that you hear that from me. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. We are a membership organization. You do have to kind of pay some dues unless you're a student, and then you're free. So if you are civically engaged, want to be more actively engaged in your community like we are, please see Sandra. She is our membership chair and would love to talk to you. I kind of want to give us a plug. We are looking for an advocacy chair. And what that means is a lot of people don't like to attend meetings, but that's a lot of the business stuff that we do, right? Transparency, the Sunshine Act, those types of things the league feels are important in our community. So if those are some things that are interesting to you, please speak to one of our members. I do also want to clear up a thing. I mentioned we do endorse candidates. But sometimes we do take a stance on certain issues, right? We do a lot of research. One of those issues that we do take a stance on is fully funding public education. Okay, so do know that sometimes some of the things that we do stand for, some people think that they are liberal, but in 1920, it was the liberal thinking that got the women the right to vote. So we'll just go with that. I'm a little sassy with that red hair. I have only had a one-day weekend, so I apologize. I had to go right back to work today. Video of this event, again, is on our LWVPPR YouTube channel, so thank you to Studio 809 Podcasts also for making this into a Making Democracy Work podcast. So there's some links that you can find on our website at lwvppr.org. One of the other things that we do for voter education is vote411.org. The candidates, if you haven't seen a survey, please let us know. We ask you some pretty basic questions, but those answers come directly from the candidates. So if you want more education about your candidates, we're going to tell you to go to vote411.org. That is supposed to go live today. Your ballots should have dropped today. If you haven't gotten this state ballot information booklet, your address is probably incorrect. We want to make sure you fix that, so talk to one of those league members, right? Because if you didn't get this booklet, you probably won't get a ballot. So please, let's talk about that. Again, your ballot should be coming any day in the mail, so we're going to get to your forum format. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes for your introductions. Your moderators will get to tell you who goes first. Answers are 30 seconds to 1 minute, and the moderator will decide based on the question and let that timekeeper know as well. So again, moderators, make sure you answer that up or announce that before you tell the question. Audience members, a couple of things. Again, you are responsible for the questions. Keep them coming. Right? Please do not shout out during the forum. We're going to keep it civil and smooth all the way to the end, and then we'll have applause at the end from you for the candidates. Silence those phones. And the restrooms, I have no idea where they are. So thanks. They're somewhere over there, right behind us. Perfect. So, moderators, I am done. So good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Mandy Walsman. I'm a senior at Rampart High School. I'm involved in our student government, speech and debate, NHS, and I'm planning to pursue a degree in nonprofit business management after I graduate.
My name is Haley Ziegner. I'm also a senior at Rampart High School. I am involved in varsity girls soccer, National Honor Society, and after high school, I plan on pursuing a degree in biomedical engineering.
All right, now we'll start off with our candidate introductions. Our first candidate is Mr. Will Temby, and our second candidate is Ms. Heather Cloninger. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to give each of you 2 minutes for your candidate introduction. We'll start with Mr. Temby and move on to Mrs. Cloninger.
Great, thank you, Mandy and Haley and the League of Women Voters. Good evening, I'm Will Temby, and I'm seeking re-election to the Academy School District Board of Education. Currently, I am proud to serve as its vice president. I'm the proud father to 5 amazing kids, all of whom are products of this great district, and the lucky husband to Nan. Most people would say I overmarried. Over the past 2 to 3 years, we have entered an unprecedented era of blanket attacks on public education. As a product of excellent public education and involved D20 parent for the past 28 years, I have a more positive outlook than my challengers who are new to the scene of D20's entire constellation of schools. I'm excited about our future. While we should be immensely proud of being accredited with distinction for 15 consecutive years, the importance of continuous improvement cannot be overstated. It is the driving force behind excellence, competitiveness, and growth. It's what sets high-achieving districts apart from the rest, ensures that we keep pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Is D20 perfect? No, it will never be. We have 26,600 unique students, and D20 has to meet each child as they come to us. But for my 28 years, it has been transparent, dealt with parental concerns on a case-by-case basis, and always been focused on being better than the day before. Student outcomes is my primary focus. This is and has always been my highest priority, preparing kids for post-secondary success. Positive outcomes don't just happen. It takes a team of committed staff members and engaged parents and guardians to make it happen. I'm very excited about our new superintendent, many of the initiatives in place, and I'm very bullish on Academy District 20 and I look forward to your questions this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you also to the League of Women Voters and for you, Mandy and Haley, for coming and doing this. This is excellent for your future. I love it. My name is Heather Cloninger, and I'm thrilled to be here. I've been married to my husband, Bob, a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, for nearly 21 years. We are the proud parents of 2 sons, Jack and Sam. Neither have stayed going to the 3rd one. They went to 2, they're done. I've served on the board for the last 4 years, most recently as board treasurer. Prior to my time on the board, I served on countless committees and was a driving force behind the 2016 bond campaign. I won Volunteer of the Year 3 times and have spent countless hours in our D20 schools getting to know our students, parents, and staff. I have a strong understanding of the unique challenges we face, and I have seen the incredible dedication and passion of our educators. I've witnessed the academic excellence of our students, and it is my focus to continue to close learning gaps in our schools. When I ran for the board in 2019, my motto was putting D20 kids first. At that time, it felt obvious. 4 years later, a growing divide has shifted everyone's main focus away from caring for all children. Putting students first means showing up to your events, being there to cheer you on. It also means being an advocate for our SPED population and other groups in our schools, supporting our staff as they serve our students, and making decisions that benefit all of our D20 students. I ask you, members of this incredible district, let's continue to put our students first and keep D20 a place where everyone can thrive and succeed. I know how we have maintained our district's academic excellence and how we can continue to educate and inspire our students to thrive. Together, we can ensure D20 remains a place where students come first, always. Tonight, I ask for your vote. Please re-elect me, Heather Cloninger.
Thank you, Ms. Cloninger. Now we will move on to our questions. Our first question, you will have 30 seconds to answer, and Ms. Cloninger will go first and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question asks, what do parental rights mean to you?
Well, being a parent myself, I have never been in doubt that my greatest effort and responsibility is my children. My husband and I have 2 children that we recognize that they are our top priority. When he deployed, I was there and stayed with them here, and we've made a lot of sacrifices for them. So parental rights are very important to me. I think it's important that we recognize that we have choice in this district, and that's a big deal.
Ready? For me, parental rights is simple. It really is the relationship between parents and the school district. My experience for 25 years with 5 graduates is that this district is welcoming to any parent who wishes to get engaged. As a matter of fact, encouraging to any parent who wants to get engaged in this district. So there are back to school nights, there's syllabi, there's Infinite Campus, there are parent-teacher conferences, and there are relationships to be built with our faculty. And so I think this district shows that it encourages parental rights.
Thank you, candidates. We'll move on to our second question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer this question. And this question is, how will you engage students and help give them a voice in the district? We'll begin with Mr. Tembe first and move on to Ms. Cloninger.
Well, I think we are. Our superintendent has a student advisory group, which is a representation of every school in the district and every high school in the district. And so we encourage that voice. But a good school board member is out in the schools and engaging our students and encouraging them to speak up. And it is a cultural thing within a school. I think most of our schools, from what I have seen over 25 years, encourage the student voice and balance it obviously with the needs of the district in each school. So We'll continue to have Board of Education linkages like we do, where we sit down with students and talk about topical issues in the district, and we will encourage our schools to listen to student voice.
Thank you, Mr. Temby. Ms. Cloninger?
Thank you. I believe this is extremely important. One of the things that I and my husband have done is try to teach our children to think critically, to be smarter than us, and I think in a lot of ways we've succeeded. It's important that when we teach our children to learn, we don't stop them at what they learn is only what we can teach them or what goes along with our thinking. It needs to be that they adapt and they take on those things that they've learned to be good critical thinkers. That's how they're going to become leaders in the world, and I applaud that. I applaud things like opportunities like this where you're able to come out and do this. This is what sets you apart and gives you that edge for when you say that you've been moderators at a political candidacy forum.
Thank you so much. Our next question will have 1 minute to respond. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question says, universal preschool was a rough start across the state. ASD 20 found itself with wait lists for the 4-year-old program. If elected, what can or will you do to expand the need for the UPK program across this district?
Thank you. A minute or 30 seconds? Excuse me, feels a little like the rapid fire. Excuse me. I agree. It was it rolled out with a lot of bumps, and I think that when something's as new as it was, that does happen. Communication, as we've seen here in this district, is vital to rolling out any program, and so in my opinion, I think that we can and should do better for those students. We have so many things that we have seen. I apologize, my words are leaving me, but so many articles and things that we know that when our children are taught young, then they are more successful. And so I think that it is in our best interest to make sure that we work out those kinks and get it going right.
Well, there's no question that there are tremendous benefits to early childhood education. So I fully support this initiative, but like any major transformative initiative, there's going to be a learning curve. And so it was a rocky start. The best thing that we can do is continue to make this district a district of choice for our educators and make sure that they feel valued so that we've got the appropriate staffing to accommodate early childhood education, and then support the governor and the legislature in terms of the funding thereof. But every study shows that if you can get a kid into a pre-K program and give them a running start on their K through 12 education, it's going to benefit them in terms of literacy, their social skills, and many other things. So we need to continue as a board to support this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question from the audience, candidates will have 30 seconds to answer. We'll start with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. This question asks, do you suggest we police students' smartphones for inappropriate content?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. Do you suggest we police student smartphones for inappropriate content?
Boy, that's a big privacy issue. No, I don't think we should be doing that. I think that is something that is responsibility at home. If a child has a nuclear family or a strong parental or guardian presence, I do not think it's under the purview of this district to look at smartphones. I do believe we need to continue to monitor Safe to Tell and social media for potential threats to our communities, but I do not believe that we should be that intrusive.
I would totally agree. I believe that there are time and places that we should have our phones out, and I have seen the option for people to put them in a little, spots at the front of the classroom, things like that. Those are all have kind of helped with different behaviors inside the classroom during the school day. But I also believe that, like I said before, we teach our kids to become adults, and obviously they're not at young ages, but when we teach them, they can learn and kind of do it themselves, stop themselves.
Thank you so much. Our next question, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question says, would candidates give their positions on book/library censoring, please?
You're asking the hard questions. Are we at 30 seconds? Is that what we said? 1 minute. Thank you. Sorry, I keep missing what we're doing. Will we give, sorry, say that one more time.
Would candidates give their positions on book or library censoring?
I have a lot of background with working for a book distributor, and so my answer does come from my experience of working for them. I believe that parents are the ultimate navigator of what their children can and should read. But I believe that our libraries should be open to having a lot of options that bring in diverse ideas and understandings of people and populations so that we can grow and we can have our children. I always say that there's a book in every library for every child. Not every book in every library is for every child.
Could I have 4 hours to answer this question? My view is simple. One thing that we found is that we do get large shipments of books, particularly into our new school. We do need to do a better job of vetting some of those resources. My discriminators are very simple. Books need to be age appropriate, not contain sexual graphic content, not contain profanity with no redeeming educational value. But most importantly, I will never ban a book because it simply offends somebody's political ideology. Never. Never. So again, I know that this is on the radar screen of our administration. We know that there are challenges out there, and I don't mean impending book challenges, but this is a challenging issue and an important issue to parents. But I side with Ms. Cloninger in terms of if parents don't want their kids to take out a book, they currently have a process by which they can do that at each of our libraries. So.
Thank you. For this next question, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. We'll start with Mr. Tempe and move on to Ms. Cloninger. This question says, some schools across the district meet capacity. If a family moves in after the closing choice window, they may not get into their neighborhood school. Do you believe the school choice window should move back or more spots should be held in high school enrollment schools?
Yeah, this is a difficult issue because, let's face it, economics are in play here too. We get per pupil funding based off an October 1st count. And when a school does not look like it's going to be at capacity, they have to make a decision as to whether to bring in choice kids, whether they be intra-district or inter-district. We have learned that some of our schools are really becoming high demand schools because of the growth, the residential growth in those areas. So we've been talking about this issue and actually tempering our enthusiasm about choice to make sure that the neighborhood kids are accommodated, and especially our military families who sometimes come in on a billet. They're not sure that they're moving to Colorado Springs. They do, and they want their neighborhood school. So we're acutely aware of this issue, and I'm not sure it's moving the date or just making sure that we've got enough space for those last-minute registrations.
Can we just say ditto? I agree. I have our children went to school at Chinook Trail Elementary, and that was one of those destination schools because it has Chinese as one of its languages, which I speak. But also, it was something that people would move in and they would feel really frustrated that they couldn't get into that school. So I really do empathize with that situation. I think that our principals get hammered every single year about how much they're holding, and how, Central Registry certainly does a huge and a tremendous job of navigating that. My answer to people when they call me personally is usually, just wait and see how it kind of works out. And generally, people do get where their choices are for the most part. But I do think that, we just have to maintain those important dialogues of, like Mr. Temby said.
Thank you. Our next question, you will have 30 seconds to answer. Ms. Cloninger will go first, and Mr. Tempe will follow. This question asks, you are both incumbents. Which achievement during this current term has been the most fun?
Well, I think meeting all of you, and I mean you kids, because I have a ball when I come into a school, and whatever you're doing, whether it's your academics or your music or your sports, whatever, I have had so much fun. I will say one of my favorite things to do, and this year was a little bit weepy for me, was graduations. They are such an incredible, joyous time for families, and both Will and I, during our tenure, hopefully I'm not stealing your steam, but we have been able to graduate and hand our own children their diploma.
Well, in terms of accomplishments, what I'm infinitely proud of is our accreditation with distinction for 15 consecutive years. Being part of that, being involved on committees, parent chair of DAC, all those things, it's been incredibly rewarding. But getting in the schools and seeing what happens every day and understanding each of our 38 school buildings and the incredible dedication of our staff and the enthusiasm of our students by far is the most rewarding part of this job. And it pays very well too, by the way.
Thank you. For our next question, candidates will each have 1 minute to answer. We will begin with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. This question asks, what is your view on allowing teachers to teach about minority groups and topics in history that are controversial?
Well, again, could I have another 4 hours on this subject? Listen, this is a hot issue that just absolutely gets my blood boiling at times. I believe in a comprehensive education. I believe that kids are smart, and they deserve to understand an unvarnished sense of this country's history, and they can distill and synthesize that information and determine where they stand on it, particularly based off their value set, their frame of reference, their family values, all that. But we helicopter these kids and want to hide or whitewash history, which to me is absolutely fundamentally wrong with this country today. And so I believe in a full, comprehensive view of education, and kids aren't feeling like oppressors or the oppressed. Kids are kids. They're not born Democrats or Republicans. They are kids, and they are malleable and smart. And so I feel very strongly about a comprehensive education.
Sorry. Remember, no applause, please. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
It's hard not to applaud when Will Temby speaks. I also appreciate a comprehensive history. I think that one of the things that has happened right now in our schools is that we have lost the opportunity to have empathy and understanding taught to our children because people are afraid to have these difficult conversations. If there is a piece of the lesson that may be more hot topic or an issue that you may think, I think it's very much okay, and quite frankly, already happens, that our teachers will send notes home and communicate to the parent, this is coming up, this could be an issue at your home or your dinner table, can you please address this, or whatnot, or come back to me. It's absolutely imperative that we teach our children comprehensive history so we don't repeat it.
Thank you so much. Our next question, you'll have 1 minute to answer. Ms. Cloninger will go first and Mr. Tempe will go second. This one's kind of long. It says, D20 is unique in several ways. First, the number of military families, and second, schools on the academy. Several issues and concerns include the length of the commute to Air Academy High School and wildlife and safety concerns. What can you do to make the west side of the district special?
Other than throwing down West Side finger signs, I love the West Side. My husband and I actually started our lives living here in Colorado Springs on the West Side. So I understand some of the issues that are there, and I agree it is treacherous sometimes going up Woodman Valley in the dark and navigating some of those curves with some of those giant deer, among other animals. I think that we are in a place right now with our mill levy override that we are, working on things to keep our buildings up, and as far as getting into the base easier, that is not my purview, thank the Lord, but I absolutely believe that I'm happy to sign off on something that would make it easier for those kiddos to get to school. I will say setting their alarm clocks a little earlier is probably one of them.
Well, I already think that the West Side is special, particularly when you go in the schools over there. There's just a palpable sense of pride there, particularly if you've ever been to some sort of KDET rally over at Air Academy. It comes with unique challenges. We are separated by a major interstate. There aren't too many school districts, particularly in southern Colorado, that have that type of boundary, east and west. So I kind of look at spending priorities and logistical priorities, and we've got a significant issue in terms of a lack of bus drivers to get kids around to games, let alone get them transported over to our West Side schools or around the West Side. Brett Smith is in the room here, our Chief Operating Officer, and Brett used to be 7 feet tall. Now he's only 6'3", because he has to deal with this formidable challenge. So there is no simple answer to that question other than we need to continue to value our West Side schools and what they represent to the district.
Thank you, candidates. Our next question, you will have 30 seconds to answer. We'll begin with Mr. Tembe and move on to Ms. Cloninger. This actually comes from a young student, and they ask, what are your thoughts about me learning about history, including war and things around that part?
Well, I think I've addressed the issue, and again, all instruction, which it is right now, it needs to be age appropriate. Certainly you need to kind of temper things that might be directed to a older audience in our secondary schools. But at the elementary level, there needs to be a basic understanding. And again, it's a formative, iterative process. And so I'm absolutely embracing of a comprehensive education starting at kindergarten all the way up.
I appreciate that question from a young person who's come tonight. I think that, again, I will reiterate that I don't come to any of this position fear-based or fearful that our children will learn too much. I do become aware that our children aren't being taught empathy and consideration of other worldviews and history. So I do feel like it's important for us to start when we're young, having those age-appropriate conversations, but having those comprehensive conversations so that we can give our children the best leg up to go and be leaders of this world.
Thank you so much. Are we good?
No, we're good.
Our next question, you will have 1 minute to answer. Ms. Cloninger will go first and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question asks, do you think teachers should be armed in the classroom?
I think that Arming teachers is obviously a very personal. There's a lot of different ways to think about this. I have my personal belief about arming teachers and what that would mean because I've been in classrooms, and the idea of a teacher having to carry out a multi-duty of not only being in charge of the children that they're in front of, but also take care of some assailant that may be there is a very complex question. I think that our security team, and I see Rich Payne here, do an excellent job of helping train our SROs and the people that have been trained to do the work that keep us safe. And as our mill levy override passes, we will be able to increase that to all of our elementary schools as well.
For me, safety is a non-negotiable issue, but in short, the answer is no. There is absolutely a place for armed teachers, and I would say that in rural areas where law enforcement response times could be extensive, there may be a need to have somebody armed to repel a potential attacker or assailant. In our schools, we've got an excellent relationship with law enforcement, and we have an outstanding staff led by Rich Payne and all of our officers with extensive law enforcement training. I do not want a teacher who is armed in one of our classes to leave their third graders behind to respond to gunfire in a school and leave those kids alone in a locked classroom and have the kids suffer through that level of trauma. So while I support the Second Amendment and understand its history, I do not support armed teachers in our schools.
Thank you. For our next question, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. This question asks, currently we only have ESL services at some schools. This creates a burden of choice on these families whose numbers are increasing. Do you support providing an ESL teacher to every school?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of a common sense answer here. The one thing that you find out sitting in this seat and being an educator in this district is it's fluid. Every year we've got approximately 26,600 students, but that population changes every single year, as does the population and profile of every single school. It's incumbent upon each of the schools to understand what their enrollment looks like and the mix of their population, and then has to direct resources there. Sometimes we need more math cohorts because you've got more fourth graders than you did last year. You may have more ESL students next year because of population shifts within the district. So it's a fluid situation, but absolutely we need to meet the need when possible and when staffing exists for such a need.
Thank you. This question is near and dear to me. As I said before, I do actually speak Chinese because I lived there. I lived in China for a year. So I have been one of those students that didn't speak the language fluently. So I feel like I have a little bit of an understanding of coming into a country and not knowing that language. And so my heart goes out to our ESL teachers, and I see a few of you here in the room tonight, and I think that you do an excellent job of what you can with what you have. Do I wish that we could increase that? Absolutely. I am grateful, and I see our Superintendent Haber here, and I'm grateful for her leadership and for her ability to see things maybe outside of what we have done, because it's always been so, and taking a different outlook of innovation and looking at ways that we can collectively make our schools better for our ESL students and their teachers.
Thank you. Our next question, candidates will have 30 seconds to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question asks, what is your stance on district-provided electronic device use in our district? Do you see this need growing?
Is need growing? Yes. I think that we're all pretty much one-to-one at this point, so I don't know that the need is growing more than that. But when it started that we had a feeder strand that had the one-to-one devices, everybody kind of thought, oh, the new shiny, a new kind of thing was in those schools. I believe that we lean into technology and that we make it work for us. So I think that and we've had incredible opportunities to see how teachers are doing that. So I'm not afraid of it. I think that there's appropriate use, and I think that it's important to lean in and make it work for us.
I had the pleasure to co-chair the 2016 bond campaign with Lori Uddenberg, who's in the audience, I believe. There's Lori. And one of the major initiatives there was to bolster our IT infrastructure, which included devices. We also benefited from ESSER funds during the pandemic. Right now, we've done a good job of getting almost a one-to-one ratio of devices to students, and for those students who have trouble with internet connection, we've also been able to avail hotspots to those families. So I think we're in a good place for whatever technology need arises or is current in our schools.
Thank you. For this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer. This question asks, what are your top 3 priorities for the district?
Well, for me, student outcomes is the most important thing. How are we preparing kids for post-secondary success? It's absolutely the essence of why we show up every day, making sure that you guys are ready to launch. Teacher retention and attraction is a high priority for me. It's absolutely critical that we make our teachers feel as though they belong here, that we value what they do, and continue to compensate them accordingly. Safety and security is important to me also. A safe child is ready to learn.
Ditto, again. I think that there's a lot of similarities to what we'll probably be saying because we have been here for the last several years and 4 years on the board. So a lot of it sounds similar, but teacher retention is a big piece. We've had so many teachers just be burnt out and tired of the teaching profession, which is sad to me. And I've been so grateful when I've seen the teacher cadet group that has come from DCC and other schools that have children wanting or students wanting to go into that profession. So I'm really grateful for that. Obviously, security is a big one as well, and our student outcomes.
Great. Thank you so much. Our next question, you'll have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and we will move on to Mr. Temby. As you mentioned, teacher retention is a very pressing topic. How do you plan to attract new teachers and keep them?
Well, I would like to pay them. I think that we should take away the NFL. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, Bob. No, I would love to pay our teachers more. I think that there is a great opportunity, and I will keep plugging this because I believe in it, and the mill levy override that we have is set to give our teachers an increase, and that's important so that, when our taxpayers understand what our finances are. I know that our Chief Financial Officer, Becky Allen, is always willing to sit down with a parent and go through it and help them understand that we are not just throwing money at places that don't need it. We literally are working hard at, a balanced budget and things like that. So I feel like paying our teachers more, passing this mill levy, yes on 4A.
I've led organizations for 40 years, and there's no organization out there that tells its workforce that they're indoctrinating people, they're doing all sorts of things wrong, and then expecting them to go out and provide excellent service. We've got to stop this assault on public education and our educators for one. Our teachers are doing this because they have servant hearts. Do they have economic needs? Yes, and we need to pass the mill levy override. But the intrinsics need to be there, and we have to stop telling teachers about all the things that they're doing wrong to our kids, and then preaching, on the other hand, student outcomes and academic excellence and all those things. A staff that is fatigued and unmotivated and tired of the assault is going to have a tough time delivering services. So for me, they go hand in hand, intrinsics and the compensation.
Thank you, candidates. For this next question, you will each have 1 minute. We'll start with Mr. Temby and then go on to Ms. Cloninger. This question asks, how do you propose keeping personal politics and personal religious beliefs out of the decisions that are made in the district?
Well, I'll speak for both of us. I think we have, over the past 4 years, we took an oath in 2019 to serve all students and all families in this district, and I take that oath heart attack serious, because this is a diverse district with diverse needs and diverse challenges. I believe in the separation of church and state, and I don't need to elaborate on that. The board has policies that say you'll not be beholden to any advocacy group or special interest group. You will not reside on a staff that may pose a conflict with this district. I take that very seriously and have governed accordingly with moderation, and I say I'm unapologetically reasonable. And if I'm elected, I promise to keep that vow for another 4 years. I'm not sure every person aspiring to this can conform to that.
Since he already spoke for me, I will just say I totally agree. I believe that the oath that we took was for all children, and we represent a diverse group of people. The idea that church and state should be separate is not something that we created. And so I do feel kind of the same way about the history question with this, that we can't even talk about Christianity or Judaism, whatever the religion is, because everybody is so fearful that they're going to say something wrong. I believe that as we have comprehensive classes, we will gain the empathy and be able to speak as diverse citizens and teach our children the entire curriculum that we would like them to have. So.
Thank you so much. Our next question, you will have 30 seconds to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Tempe will go second. This question asks, do you believe age-appropriate sex education should be taught in high schools?
Yes. I think that it is important for our kids to learn, again, a comprehensive curriculum. I also believe that parents are the best indicator of what they want their children to learn, and always have and should have the opportunity to choice them out for that piece or make other arrangements if that is something that they disagree with. But there are children that have families that come from families where that's maybe not discussed, and that's their only opportunity. So I think that it's important to have.
Yeah, Ms. Cloninger stole everything I would say about that. Families have an option to opt out. I do believe kids need to have sex education, and you know, the reality is not every child benefits from, again, a nuclear family, a family that can provide that education, and every child needs to understand that issue. So.
Thank you. For this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. Each candidate will have 30 seconds. This question asks, do you see the benefit of the resource center in our district, which provides clothes, food, and counseling services?
Oh my gosh, you want to talk about servant hearts, just spend time with our Family Resource Center. Ms. Cloninger and I just dropped off, and Mr. Cloninger, a bunch of bags of clothes that many of the parents had given us. and they're so appreciative. They had just gone shopping, and so the shelves were full. But if you go to the Care and Share mobile food truck and see the number of families, the first time I did it, I was stunned. I mean, the line goes through the parking lot. So it just reinforces, one, the diversity of our district, but the needs that exist in this district. This district is larger than my hometown in terms of just the student population, let alone the parent population. So they're servant hearts.
And one of those mobile Care and Share opportunities is this Wednesday. So I also agree with Mr. Temby on that. I think that it's what we do, right? In a community, we provide for each other. And to me, it's kind of a no-brainer that we would give what we can to those who are in need or those who have less than us. It's a really great opportunity, and I would encourage any of you students listening to go and volunteer there, because there's a lot of opportunity.
Thank you. Our next question, you will have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Temby will go second. This question asks, what does equity mean to you, and how do you see it implemented on a day-to-day basis for a classroom teacher?
That is a whole lot of information for 1 minute. Equity to me means that we are, not everything has to be given the same. It's not about a fairness. It's about making sure that people, well, I guess it is. It's more about how people are, I'll take, for instance, sorry, I'm backtracking. I am looking at one of my teachers over here who deals a lot with our ESL students and talking about equity and how her students and her families don't have buses that can come to their homes. There's things like that that are really important. I know you said classroom, but I'm thinking of opportunities that can help our students even get to the basic levels. So to me, the equity can be taken a lot of different ways. It's about making sure that everybody has the opportunity to learn in safe environment and be well taken care of. So that can go a lot of different ways.
Well, this certainly is a cultural hot potato. For me, same as Ms. Cloninger, every student deserves the tools by which they can learn. And so that may come in different forms or function. Kids are always going to perform at different levels. We're not talking about educational equality, because there will always be high performers, kids who need interventions, normal performers. Again, it's a population of 26,600 kids, but every kid deserves to have the tools by which they can succeed and learn.
Thank you, candidates. For this next question, each candidate will have 1 minute. We'll begin with Mr. Temby and will be followed by Ms. Cloninger. This question says, how would you analyze teacher performance data to ensure District 20 students are receiving the highest level of instruction?
Well, again, this is a deep topic because we have significant data. And what we need to be worried about as Board of Education members, faculty, administrators, everybody, is student outcomes and the whole child. We have assessment data that comes in the form of CMAS achievement and growth data, Acadience data, MAP data, and other tools, all going into Tableau for teachers to look individually at how students are performing. We have instituted professional learning communities over the past couple of years that are virtually in every department and every school, and we've actually made that a scheduled item in this district each month. Some schools exceed that. We have multi-tiered systems of support to really look at kids who might need interventions, and our faculty and our educators are completely focused on each individual child because we owe it to the whole child.
I love this question. It's also complicated, and as we're sitting here, literally these offices right above us are our Learning Services office, and I think of the work that they all do. They bring us that information, like Mr. Temby said. And one of the other pieces that I think of is the District Accountability Committee and our own school accountability committees. Those are great opportunities for us to know what's going on and get a good overview of the things that are happening. So I would encourage parents to get involved in those. We have an incredible history in this district of having way more than we need as far as the legal amounts or you know what we're supposed to have. But it is important that we look at the children as a whole child. The growth numbers are different than the actual testing numbers, and so those matter, and they matter when we look at it together. So the whole child is a big piece of that.
Thank you. Our next question, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. Ms. Cloninger will go first, Mr. Tempe will go second. This question asks, do you think racial prejudice exists in the district? And if so, how do you plan on combating it?
I 100% believe that it exists. I know that it does from friends of mine that have told me of issues that are going on with their own children today. I think that is a sad state of affairs, and the way that I plan to combat it is support our leadership, Superintendent Haber, and I am seeing Dr. Smith here as well with and also with Mr. Payne, with just having anti-bullying things in place, but also having those comprehensive curriculums, I think, go back to having a more empathetic district. We all are heightened and everything stays in that place if we don't have conversation. But if you can't even broach the topic, then how are you going to get there? So I believe that it's important for us to work with our administrators, let people know, the safe to tell, things like that are all important pieces.
It's clear that it exists. A couple of years ago, we received some feedback from about 200 graduates, minority graduates, who highlighted the fact that they felt as though racism existed in this district. And again, we are a small city, and so it comes in subtle and insidious forms. Fun fact, I have 3 biracial kids. They're very light-skinned, and a lot of people didn't realize they were minorities, and they heard a lot of really disturbing stuff while they were students of this district. So it exists. And so we need to encourage dialogue, make sure that students feel safe and are willing to talk about it, and then we need to take action where it needs to exist. We started a process of looking at DEI within this district, and which got a lot of criticism. But I am fully supportive of us paying deep attention to this issue. Every child needs to feel safe and secure so that they can learn.
Thank you, candidates. For this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Temby, and he will be followed by Ms. Cloninger. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer the following question. How long have you been volunteering in District 20 schools, and on which committees have you served?
You guys must be exhausted. So, I've been volunteering for close to 15 years. I've served on the Mountain Ridge Middle School and Rampart High School School Accountability Committees. I served on the Growth and Capital Needs Committee, which was a precursor to the bond campaign in 2016. I served on and chaired the parent chair of the District Accountability Committee, co-chaired the bond campaign in 2016, and that kind of led as a formative process to me running for the Board of Education in 2019.
I'm going to say different schools, but similar committees. Both Mr. Temby and I have been a part of the District Accountability Committee for quite a while. I kind of would say it the other way, what haven't we served on? Because we have pretty much done the gambit. If there is, we've been on hiring committees, we've been on site planning committees, we've been on all kinds of different pieces, and that's just because that's who we are, that's what we've wanted to do, we've wanted to be involved, and we've had the opportunity because we have accepted when we've been asked to do those things. So that's what we've done. There's a lot.
Thank you. For our next question, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Temby will go second. This question says, the Board of Education is a nonpartisan position. Over the last few years, this position and education in general has become so polarized, creating division and teachers leaving the profession. What will you do to ensure public education remains public and open to all backgrounds?
Thank you. I think this is a really important question, and the way that I would answer it is to continue to encourage diversity in our teaching staff and have representation for everyone. I think that when we bring a group of people together and we have those conversations and we collaborate, then we are able to understand other people's points of view, other people's view of things. That it's very important to me that we continue to reach out for that diversity. So that's my answer.
I think it's important when I look out at the crowd here, there are many people who are engaged in the Board of Education, which we sincerely appreciate. Parents need to call it as they see it. This is a nonpartisan position, but you would never know it. Over the past 3 to 4 years, this has become heavily politicized. This is not Democrats versus Republicans. This is about kids. And I believe Ms. Cloninger and I have adhered to our oath for the past 4 years in representing all students, all viewpoints, listening to all parents. And it frustrates some people who are on the polls who don't understand what I stand for. What I stand for is every child and their outcome in this district. I don't stand for a political ideology, and I'm not beholden to any advocacy group or special group. It's incumbent that the parents continue to speak up when they see the Board of Education not holding to its responsibilities.
Thank you, candidates. For this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. Each candidate will have 30 seconds for this question, which asks, does LGBTQ plus deserve to be a protected class?
Well, it is a protected class, and we will follow the law when it comes to any accommodation of any group in this district. That is our responsibility as elected officials, and it's our moral responsibility to our student population. This is a sensitive issue. There are some people who don't embrace communities other than ones that look and feel like themselves. But again, when you sit here and you're elected to this position, you have an obligation to serve all 26,600 students, and will continue to do so.
I agree. I think that by saying that I believe that the LGBTQ plus population should be a protected class, it's the law. That is true. It's the law. But by saying that, that doesn't mean that I then limit my responsibility to any other student who doesn't find themselves in that category. So I believe that, like Mr. Temby said, we took an oath for all the students in this district, and you shouldn't know anything about our personal issues with one thing or another. You should know that we are governing the entire group. So.
Thank you. For this next question, candidates will have 1 minute to answer. We will start with Ms. Cloninger, and Mr. Temby will go second. This question asks, what is your view on giving students access to services they may not have at home? For example, washer/dryer or showers.
I think that that is a great question for teachers. My view is that we take care of our children where they are. They come to us in a lot of different walks of life. We have homeless children that come to us. We have kids with needs that are different than what maybe a gen ed kid would would need. So I think that we meet children where they are, that if that's what they need to have is a shower or a laundry, I certainly think that we should be providing an opportunity for them to be taken care of. Certainly if they're a young child and they soiled themselves, they'd get new pants or whatnot for going. I think that doesn't change if it goes into our older kids as well.
Thank you. For this next question, oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Temby.
If you'd like to answer it, yeah, I think we should accommodate needs. It's important that if there is a service to be provided, that when it's appropriate and it's the right situation, parents should know that we're availing services to students. In the absence of a parent or guardian, and there's a need, such as a homeless student without parents, then we should do everything to make them feel safe and secure.
All right, thank you to both of our candidates. For this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Temby and move on to Ms. Cloninger. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer the question. Can you please speak to who has endorsed you and why you think their endorsement matters?
Well, I'm proud of my endorsement. I'm not endorsed by Moms for Liberty or Lauren Boebert. I'm endorsed by educators, by former board leaders, by people in the community who know my work and have a heart for this community, and community leaders who have children in this district. I'm proud of my parental educator and administrator endorsements, because I don't care what somebody in Washington has to say about District 20. I believe in local control, and the people who are endorsing me absolutely are fans and supporters of this district.
This is my last forum ever. I don't have a greater need to be in politics or any kind of furthering this piece. I'm very happy to have served on this board. I look forward to 4 more years, but I don't have anybody on my endorsements that haven't either been through this school specifically or have worked for this district. They all have been integral parts of this district and its parents, educators, and students.
Thank you. For our last question, you will have 30 seconds to answer. This question asks, we will start with Ms. Cloninger and Mr. Temby will go second. This question asks, what is your favorite book and why?
Well, I have a lot, but the one that came to mind first was Think Again by Adam Grant. I think that one of the things that I really like about that book is it is a book that talks about viewing, getting other people's perspectives, understanding other people, and the way that we can see other people's points of view. And I feel like that's something that as a board member, as a leader, that's something that we're always striving to do, is to hear people and to be better listeners than speakers. Hopefully you're getting that from me, because I feel like very inadequate in this, but I think that it's important and it's a great book.
That's a great question. I'm a voracious reader, so I can't identify one book. One that made an impact on me is a book by Doris Kearns Goodwin called Team of Rivals, and it talked about how Abraham Lincoln had taken very disparate people who were on his cabinet and got them on the same page, but he also respected the diversity of their thought and how they would govern through a very difficult time in this country's history. And so as a CEO and people who have led business, it really reinforced that we're richer for diversity of thought and opposing views where not everybody around us is saying yes to us, that they are challenging us and help us grow.
Thank you, candidates, for all of your answers. We will now, each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement. We will begin with Ms. Heather Cloninger and finish with Mr. Will Temby.
Thank you. Let me start by thanking you all for doing this. You did a fantastic job. and you can put it on your resume. I am so grateful for the opportunity to come and speak to you again tonight, and to let you know my heart and my reasons for being a part of this Board of Education. I'm grateful for this most phenomenal students that we have, and for your teachers that I love that you came with your teacher from last year even. That shows what the relationship that you have, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had to serve with Mr. Temby. He has been nothing but professional and just one of the best people to work alongside. I'm grateful for his advocacy for all of you every single day, and I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to be a part of this district. I have absolutely enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to handing all of you students in the next 4 years your diplomas. So thank you so much, and I am grateful for all of this.
Right back at you. I'm on now. Thanks to our students, Mandy and Haley, and the League of Women Voters for their excellent work tonight. How about a hand for our students here? Well, folks, it's game time. Ballots arrive this week and have to be returned by November 7th. As the League of Women Voters has been saying for 103 years, every vote counts. The choice is clear: proven results versus political rhetoric, diversity of thought versus groupthink, experience and support of a staff that has led us to accredited with distinction for 15 consecutive years versus a narrative that the same staff is indoctrinating our kids and doesn't value parental rights. I don't have a view that our district is perfect. Every year it has to take 26,000 plus students where they're at. That comes with 26,600 individual challenges. However, I do believe in D20 to meet those challenges and am committed to pushing the boundaries of greatness. It's time for the voters to decide who will they entrust this incredible district to for the next 4 years. I hope that my knowledge of and care for this district has earned your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates. Can we get a round of applause for our candidates, please? It's a very smooth evening. Thank you so much. Thank you again to our moderators. Another round of applause, please, for our moderators. Also, our interpreters. Whew. Seriously. Whew. It was awesome. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to our co-sponsors, those of you that are in attendance, either in person or online. We appreciate you whenever you're watching. Again, please be an educated voter. Encourage everyone you know to vote. It is so important. Even that person who's waiting on you as a cashier at whatever grocery store they may not be even registered. Wear a button, grab a button from us. Please encourage everyone you know to vote. Share this with anyone in Academy D20, right? We want to educate you. For those candidates, league members, and moderators, I need you to stay for a picture, please. We're going to be right over here where the flag is. Other than that, we're going to wrap up for this evening. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for being here.